Hi, my name's Phil.
My name is Rob.
And we've been mates for years. We've done loads of stuff together.
All of which, mainly, have turned into chaos.
But someone then suggested, why don't you do a podcast? That seemed like a good idea, didn't it?
Really did.
Then we realised neither of us have ever done one of those. So is this going to work?
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
Welcome to Two Pastors in a Pod. I've got a question. And the question is, right at the beginning of this new Two Pastors in a Pod, episode 12.
I think it's 11.
13.
So episode 12, 13, 11. Do you think you're intelligent?
I think I'm intelligent?
How intelligent do you think you are?
Depends who you ask. If you ask my wife, probably get a different answer. But
Well, the thing is,
I went to school.
they reckon the older you get, the more your IQ increases, which means
Well, I'm the oldest.
That will be very clear as our podcast goes on, because we got a guest, a young guest.
Have we got a guest?
We have indeed.
Or is he computer generated?
I think he's probably, give him a poke, see whether he's real. Yeah, he's real. Nathan, great to have him. So, who's Nathan?
Who's Nathan? Yeah, who is Nathan?
Well.
I think he is artificially intelligent. Don't you think?
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Nathan, normally you're not normally in front of the camera, are you? You're
No.
a producer.
So who are you?
Well, I'm best known for being the producer of Two Pastors in a Pod.
Absolutely, that's how you make.
That's my claim to fame in life. But yeah, I have been working with technology.
Yep.
My career, basically, I started as an IT apprentice. Back when I was 19, went to university with that, and I've used technology in various roles that I have had. At one point, I worked for an AI startup.
Okay.
So that was looking specifically at predominantly computer vision AI, but embedded into cameras.
So you are a tech head
I'm
in the
a tech
truest
head,
sense.
But apparently you're not as intelligent as me and him.
Because we're
And
old.
in fact, because of what he said, I am the most intelligent.
Yeah, we'll see.
Although the people at home, they won't believe that I am actually older than you.
Believe me,
just
they
saying.
will. Believe me, they will. Let me come back to my original question.
Go on then.
Because
on your script.
because AI and intelligence and your IQ is also based around not what you can do just exam wise, and a lot of kids would have had their A levels. It's about how creative you are. So I've written I've got a poem.
Yes.
Do you want to hear my poem?
Well, we've got no choice.
Well, you haven't really, but just check this poem out. A pot of tea, a sip of serenity. A quiet cup, I find my cure, the amber liquid, warm and pure. It turns my chaos into light and makes my mood, oh, so bright. What do you reckon?
So, you asked me to ask you at this
Yes.
point. Did you write that, mate?
No, I didn't, because we are doing a subject which is important. But before we do the subject,
Hang on. Was that artificially... What we did? AI. Was that artificially intelligent poem?
it was.
So you didn't write it?
I didn't write it. I got somebody else actually to use chat. Now, what is it? Chat
PG tips.
PT tips. I'm not good at that. GPT.
No, PG tips. We're doing the T section.
So
Other forms
I got somebody else to
T-based
write.
AI are available.
So I got someone else to write it for me who knows about this stuff. Because I'll be honest, I'm speaking personally. I know very little about what we're going to deal with as a subject.
No.
What I do know about is tea. Now, Nathan, you've got a bit of a problem with our brew, haven't you?
Well, I have a problem with all your brews
Why?
because I only drink Yorkshire tea.
So, do you know what I've done?
What have you done?
That is Yorkshire tea with a difference. Did you know they did specialist tea?
I do know it.
Right, let's have a go. We'll have a go at the brew because if we
It's surprisingly kind of you.
It was artificially...
no,
I can't say
No.
I know what you're going to say, but Rob just can't get
If
so.
we can get through this podcast without too many faux pas.
something that your dad works in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if Rob can manage to do this, I'll be quite There we go. Right. So you can add your own milk. I'm adding mine. Because this is a proper brew with milk.
So it's not computer
No,
generated.
this
tea.
is genuinely Yorkshire tea. I'll show you the box. once we
Genuine
decide.
tea or is it artificial, which is the subject we're talking about, obviously.
Right, so have a smell of it, see what you think.
What is real and what is not?
What do you reckon?
It looks like real tea. Does it taste like
Now,
real tea?
the listener who sent this in drinks it every day at work and really, really rates it.
Actually,
It smells like jam on toast.
really?
That's what I
We'll
mean.
taste it.
You must have some strange jams.
Oh, come on, you've got to admit, that's not a bad brew. In actual fact, I could drink that quite regularly.
That's quite nice, actually, I have to say.
Do you not like that?
No.
Look, here it is. Well, okay.
It's like strawberries and cream.
So you reckon it's strawberries and cream. You reckon it's...
Well, I was thinking strawberry jam on toast. That
I thought you
was
said raspberry. What did you say,
I
strawberry?
just said jam on toast.
Here we go. Yorkshire tea,
Ah.
toast and jam.
You got it right!
See, look at that. I actually think that's a pretty good brew, that.
So who
So
told you about that?
it
then?
was Beth Stringer, drinks it all the time, works at a dentist. They drink this all the time at a dentist, which is probably not good for your teeth.
I was going to say.
But they rate it quite highly, and I've got to be honest,
No, it is.
I quite like that.
Where'd you get that from then?
That was Tesco's, but it is available in other stores.
Okay.
And Beth said, if you don't like it, can I have the tea bags? The answer is
No.
no, I like
You
it.
like that?
Right, where would you rate it? Out of 10.
He can't
I'll
compare
give
with
you-
the other ones.
I'll give you a 2.
What?
Well, it's
You should
got-
have drunk
it's
some of the
made-
other stuff.
It's made by Yorkshire tea, so like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
puts it up. from one.
Oh, get out. Right, come on in.
It's obviously very difficult to please.
Clearly, that's what Becky says.
Yeah, indeed.
So come on in.
I'd give that a good 8.
Do you know, I would give that a good 8 as well.
A good 8.
That's right up there with the that other one we had.
Jam and toast.
Yeah, nice cup of tea.
I
We'd
would-
recommend that one if you're looking for a new
Nothing.
brew.
Nothing artificial about that.
So come on in. Let's get into what we're going to talk about. You're going to have to help us because
Yes.
we are technophobes. Artificial intelligence, AI. It's out there. We know it's being used by countries. We know that places like China are using it to identify 3 and 4 year olds as great athletes. What is it?
Yep. What is it? Is it a problem to Christians? How can we use it for the glory of God? I reckon that's kind of what we're going to be covering today.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, AI can kind of it's a broad topic actually, and I think what's captured the public imagination over the past few years specifically has been a branch of AI called generative AI, which is doing what you've done there. You know,
Cheating.
Cheating.
giving ChatGPT a prompt and saying, you know, write something for me.
Yeah.
So that's what's really, but it's actually been around for quite a long time, and research into it's been around for a long time. Nowadays, you know, even before we had the sort of the explosion you were using, you know, people would have had things like Alexa in their homes, or you know.
So that's classed as AI.
Yeah, that's a form of AI. Anything, you know, something you see people on their phones, they'll say, "Okay Google" or "Hey Siri." It's a form of AI. It's doing something that's quite often referred to as simple or specific AI.
See, because I thought that it was a fairly new technology that suddenly has come to the fore, and we've kind of just.
Well, it's certainly come to the fore, but I'll give you a bit of I'll give you some a bit of a quiz.
Okay.
These are things that happened in the field of AI throughout history.
So you're assuming a little bit of intelligence here.
That's a little bit. Well, it's mainly sort of, can you recall where would you place these things in history?
Okay.
So
1066.
when did AI? There
Okay.
was a version of AI called Deep Blue that defeated who I assume somebody very good at chess called Kasparov in chess. When do you think that was?
Okay. So a computer generated.
A computer defeated somebody at chess.
82.
No.
You think
Kasparov.
82?
I think it's 82.
2005.
Somewhere in the middle, 1997.
I was.
Oh, okay. All right.
So still a
Excuse
while
me.
ago.
Who was closer?
Oh dear, mate.
Probably.
So
1-0.
so competitive.
1-0.
This one made headlines, not so much in the UK because we don't have the game Jeopardy, but in America they have the quiz show Jeopardy.
Okay.
And IBM's Watson won Jeopardy in what year?
IBM's what? What?
It was called Watson, the computer.
Oh,
I assume that. I think
2002. I don't know. I haven't got a clue.
2010.
very close. 2011.
I noticed you let me answer first, though.
That's two.
And I
So,
answered first both
2-0.
times.
So it's actually been kind of going on for quite a lot of years, and we've
Yeah.
had these sort of headlines. But as I say, it's this generative AI, but it exists. AI exists in lots of different areas. So you've got something specific like computer vision. That's the area that I'm used to. I work for a company that worked in that. So that's you may have seen clips from China and other places now where cameras will recognize things like number plates and read the text on the number plate and log it to a database.
Okay.
Or they can even use it with facial recognition to determine who a person is. And that's being used in places as well, like self-driving cars, or even just when you scan a document and it recognizes the text. Yeah, you've got areas of AI like machine learning, which is where you learn about something very specific in a company or something like that. You might try and train a computer to give you facts about a specific company's operations. Or natural language processing, which is more what you were doing there. Where you were
I mean, some
talking
people
something.
have predicted that this technology will transform society, a bit like you had the Industrial Revolution, or you've had all those kind of things in Enlightenment period in human history. AI, they're suggesting, will become this new technology era which will literally change us as people.
Yeah, well, I think that's already happening to a degree. If you look at but it's specific to certain industries. So you take, for example, the industry I work in, software development, mostly now. Layoffs in those kind of jobs have been massive over the past couple of years because even before the technology's got there, companies are banking on people like software developers being able to do more quicker.
Yeah.
So therefore they need less programmers on staff because other professions that they think this will impact or has started impacted is lawyers, because obviously producing legal text is quite straightforward for an artificial intelligent generative AI. But yeah, it remains to be seen. I would say in terms of, we had this massive growth of AI getting better, generative AI getting better very quickly. So ChatGPT launched in 2022, and it got incrementally better very quickly. It's kind of plateaued over the past 6 to 12 months in that it's still getting better, but it's not like that anymore. It's sort of just a little bit better. So some of those predictions remain to be seen a bit. And part of that, I think, where it comes onto that's interesting is one of the first things that happened was image generation. So we talk about text generation, but also image generation. So creating, pictures. I'm a photographer, and people were creating images that you could never get as a photographer, or they were using AI to change their images, like change the sky or change parts of the image to make them even more amazing. What I think is interesting with that as well, though, is if you find out that something is AI generated, how does that change your opinion? So, for example, all of the historical information I've just quizzed you about, I got from AI. I didn't go on Google. I didn't read somebody's research. I asked AI for some facts.
Yeah. So what's the source? The source is multiple sources that come in. So you can't.
I don't know what.
But like any information on the internet, though, you ultimately you can't always get back to the original source of the material, can you?
See, which is what the Bible says, isn't it? Yeah. There is a voice of truth, which we know is God through His Word, and then there's the other voices that tend to batter us. I mean, am I right in thinking, though, all the things you kind of listed out there, I personally don't have a major problem with facial recognition or number plates or even altering pictures and things. I mean, when the first photograph came out, I'm sure there were people who were artists who said, well, this isn't right.
Well, it's got to do you really good.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because we'll be able to alter your face.
But those kind of practical tasks, I get. But that's not the only side of artificial, because there is the mimicking, the attempt of artificial intelligence to mimic humans.
Yeah.
And that side, I think, raises some, for me at least, some real kind of issues, moral issues
Yeah.
that we as Christians need to address. Surely,
I think there's lots of positive things that come out of AI, and it will take us on. Technologically, it'll take us on, and we will advance because of it. And again, you've got to remember that this is all in the sovereignty of God, isn't it? Ultimately, God is not stressed by all this. He's always tranquil, always at peace. He knows that the AI was going to be introduced in this period of time, so we shouldn't be overly concerned, but we should learn to manage it better, because I think there are some threats. There's lots of threats out there. It's great. It is. People are saying it's the next, as you said before, this is the new technological revolution that is going to actually take us somewhere we've never been before, and we'll see that coming through over the years ahead, I'm sure. But we just got to be careful, haven't we? We just got to be careful how it's used, because there are problems with potential problems with AI in the future. I don't know whether you've thought of any through, but like the whole deep fake thing where people can be impersonated.
Yeah.
So our reputation could be ruined in a second by videos, and we've seen them already. Videos coming out that are fake videos but look very, very real, and then that gets out there through the various media, and your reputation can be gone. Yeah. So there's lots of dangers with this thing.
I mean, Facebook, X now, as it called, when it talks about AI, says this: AI reflects all the good and bad that human beings are capable of. Now, that's a very general term, but we know that internet can be used one way or another. And we know that. Would you say with AI there are more moral issues that could present themselves to us, and more complex issues?
Very complex, and I think that point about where does the content come from? What is the thing behind it? At the end of the day, any computer system is only as good as the person programming it.
But am I right in thinking though? Am I right in thinking AI isn't programmed?
No, it is.
It learns.
No. So it is.
So that's not correct. It doesn't learn from the data that it's picking up from human beings. For instance,
does
when it mimics.
It does, but then it's it's also then about what data has it been trained on, or what data do you give AI to learn from. And so, for example, there's been studies that show that ChatGPT specifically, politically speaking, has a left-wing bias.
Right.
Yeah. If you
That's the thing.
it doesn't go across the whole spectrum. But
see, because in my brain, which shows how literate I am, when you're thinking about internet, people literally sitting at a keyboard programming stuff in. That's a human being thinking, programming in. AI is listening to a human being and mimicking that, so it's not being and then making its own decisions.
No, so that's a certain branch of AI.
But there is an AI that makes its own decisions, certainly military, because it decides on who a target is.
Yes, they've run simulations on that, and they've had some pretty scary results from it. Certainly, that there's a certain field of AI called artificial general intelligence, which is about trying to give AI human-like reasoning and capabilities.
And that's a dangerous area.
It's a very dangerous area. It's the most dangerous area. As in, if you think of popular culture films like The Terminator, and, other ones. There's been several over the years.
iRobot. That was on the other night.
That's it. So they are all based around this idea that AI, when given effectively free reign, and when you create artificial general intelligence, AI will effectively turn on us, because it'll go, well, humans are no good for the world, and therefore we'll get rid of humans. So that's not the only sort of outcome of artificial general intelligence, but effectively the research of artificial general intelligence is to give, or AGI, is to give computers human-like reasoning and capabilities.
So AGI, that's where in my mind I've got artificial intelligence, not a major problem. AGI, this whole idea of intelligence thinking for itself and making its own decisions, and that's starting to become for me a very moral issue.
It is. I think you wonder though whether that is even possible, because it's only mankind that God made, you know.
Right.
And so in a way, from a Christian perspective, I look at that whole question and I think, well, the Bible tells me that only God can breathe life into a human being. And it doesn't matter if you, however intelligent artificial intelligence gets, it still doesn't have a soul. And we are the only things.
That is the key. There's no soul. But like everything, throughout history, any technological advance has always been corrupted because we're fallen. And I'm sure that AI will be corrupted, and that those who are the original source of some of these AGIs, that could be used for human destruction, there will be wicked, evil people and it'll be in their hands, just as nuclear weapons were in the hands of potentially wicked, evil people. So we're always going to have that issue with any new technology that comes because of sin.
But what's interesting is, where's that new technology come from? You think about the internet, whether that's Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. When we had a pandemic, we wouldn't be in the position we're in now if we hadn't used that. I came across a verse in the Old Testament, Isaiah 54, verse 16, where it says this. This is God speaking. He says, "See, it is I who created the blacksmith, who fans the coals into flame and forges the metal fit for its work." In other words, God's saying to Israel, look, I brought that new technology to you. I allowed that. I induced that, for want of a better word. And so I think you said earlier, the fear factor for us as Christians is, well, God allows these things and we can use them wisely or foolishly.
That's it.
And that's where the kind of dilemma
So the world will look to, some aspects of the world will look to use it foolishly, and and man's inhumanity to man will again prevail in some areas of AI. But there will be good as well. And within the church and as Christians, we should be looking to take this technology to further the cause of the gospel.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the questions we asked, and you've set me and Robert task a little bit earlier before we came on, but we did ask a question. Now, we know the church is people, but I asked the question, do you think AI could run a church? What do you reckon?
I would hope not. Personally, for me, the church is to be led by elders and a pastor. And I think, I remember one of the topics that I remember discussing right at the beginning of sort of ChatGPT coming out was, ChatGPT can write a sermon. So what's to stop a pastor going and write me a sermon from Romans chapter 8, and I'll just read that out on Sunday, sort of thing. And you get quite a good output. You do get quite a good output from these tools.
Because some churches, and again, we know the church is Christ at the centre, but there are churches that tend to run more like organisations. Read prayers, read sermons, read homilies, organisationally, pastorally over the phone. It is possible for an organisation to be run.
But you can't. A church has got soul because it's full of people. And I think technology can't give you soul. I think it can enhance the experience in church life. So technically, digitally, that can be enhanced and used for good. Videos and notices, even that kind of thing.
What was the thing you said we missed?
But when it comes to the word,
it
has to have soul. The Spirit needs to work on an individual to prepare that individual's heart and to proclaim the truth. And I think if we as pastors fall into the trap of just hitting a button and saying, give me a sermon on that, then where is the soul? Where is the Spirit being put into that? Where is the prayer gone into that?
I think you used the term image bearer, didn't you?
Yes,
we are God's image bearer, and the church needs the image bearers of God because that's how God has chosen to work.
There's also a lot of commands in the New Testament, aren't there, about exhorting one another and how leadership in the church is to interact with people in the church and vice versa, that you can't fulfill with an AI. With an AI pastor, you can't do those things.
Let's look at this what you gave us. So obviously we've been pastors for a number of years, we're preachers. You set us a task. What did you set us?
So I provided two expositions of Romans chapter 8. And one of them has been written by a person and one was written by and AIs. So which do you reckon was the AI and which wasn't? The first one or the second one?
Okay, so we did look at this. Now, granted,
Yeah,
I only scanned this in the car coming in.
I didn't get much time.
We haven't compared notes, but I think it was the human one. I think I'm going to be wrong there. It was the second one that you sent.
All right.
Okay,
So,
we have
the
not
one-
compared notes.
Yeah.
The one on the right.
And as I scanned that through, the final paragraph was what sold it for me. And I think that AI wrote the first one. So like Rob, I think the second one was humanly written.
Okay, so you're both wrong.
Really? No way! Is that right?
Yeah. So to give you some idea, that's the kind of, language
Wow.
processing that is possible.
That's it
with-
now. Sunday Sarah. Sunday Sarah.
So come on in. Is there a way? So obviously we've screwed up.
Yeah.
All right, we haven't spent a long time, but we got that wrong. For our congregation, for the average Christian, for us as pastors, is there a way that we can actually go, well, that's AI generated and that's human generated? See, in my case, it's easy because I spell everything wrong and get the grammar wrong. So that wouldn't be difficult. But genuinely, how do we know what is AI and what isn't?
Well, I probably gave you the hardest example I could have, and certainly when I was going through reading, trying to find a human example to put alongside the AI one, I could have definitely chosen human writing that you read, and there was, as you say, more soul in it, that I think you probably would have picked up on.
Wow.
There are also tools online, if people do get concerned with this, that you can copy and paste text into, and it will give you some sort of a scoring as to whether or not text has been produced by AI or a human, because you can kind of tell through some of the language, and you would only really be able to tell by reading it if you read, like I use AI every day, and so I might be able to.
Their phrases or to...
Yeah, and to give you an idea, it took me 11 prompts
Yeah.
to get AI to give me a selection of text that I thought, oh, that's somewhere. It wasn't just give me this, it was 11 prompts.
You're not making me feel much better, although that was difficult. We both screwed up reading that.
But obviously AI here to stay. We're coming to the end of the podcast. So as we come to the end, what conclusions can we draw? What positives can we take from AI? How can we further the cause of the gospel with the use of AI going forward?
Well, I think it's being used in a number of different ways. So probably the headline one is Bible translators using AI to translate the Bible more quickly into, I can't remember how many languages, it's over 2,000 languages they're still
So there is that's a huge benefit.
Absolutely, yeah. Other ones are like small churches are using generative images to create sort of promotions that are more appealing. They might not have somebody who's artistic on their staff, but they can go into a system like Canva and say, produce me an image for this Easter or this Christmas event, and they'll get something back that perhaps people will be more, visually appealing to try and encourage people to come.
Do you think AI can improve podcasts?
This is an artificially intelligent podcast. We're not. I keep saying we're not real people. No, we are. We have. Well, I like to think. Well, some of us have got soul.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
I think though that as these things become more prevalent, the important thing is, I feel like whenever I sit behind the camera watching these podcasts happen, and the thing is, we always end up coming back to the Bible. What does the Bible say? What does the Word of God say? And I think in watching the world around us and how more and more people are interacting, it's shocking statistics I found shocking. 20% of young people say they'd consider having a relationship with an AI. AI dating apps. Over 50% of young adults are using dating apps now, and those dating apps now got AI embedded within them. So AI is having an impact on how people pursue relationships and create relationships. And going back to the start of where do you get your trust from? It's from the source. And I think that the human element, as people, young people are also now rejecting social media as an example, because they realise that there's, not across the board, but there is a selection of young people who don't want anything to do with social media because they realise that that is fake.
Yeah.
Just as you get deep fakes online, you can have a fake image on social media. And I think where the church is to be is partly completely if you stay true to the Word of God and you keep living as disciples of Jesus, as followers of Him, and exemplifying how He lived in the world. I think that's only going to become more appealing. You know, what's the quote about the darker the darkness gets, the more the light shines brightly. And so as people perhaps get involved with AI in lots of different ways, not just in relationships, but in their workplace, but then if they see the Christian church, the local church, functioning in the way that the New Testament describes and Jesus told us to be, then I think that becomes even more appealing. You know, that holding on to the truth of the Word. And, you know, it's wonderful that we as Christians, there's all these sort of slight intruths and imperfect truths becoming more and more prevalent online. You know, we have the ultimate truth.
Amen.
And we have the Spirit
Amen.
of God. We've got the Spirit of God living within us.
Yeah.
Spoken with soul.
Absolutely. Now,
Spoken with soul.
now, our time's run out, but I've got a quotation. You know those big boards that sit outside churches in America particularly? I came across this one which said, before we worry about artificial intelligence, can we do something about natural stupidity? Which I thought was really appropriate for our podcast. Nathan, it's been great to have you on.
It has. It's nice to have you this side of the desk.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do that again on another subject.
It's good to sit next to someone who's got some intelligence.
Listen, that's the end of Two Parts of the Pod.
Apologies to all our guests that have been on.
Don't forget, we need some more likes. We need you to subscribe as well. So don't forget to click.
Email in, send some questions in, send a brew in. You can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Spotify, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and that is intelligence.
That's a wrap. What number was it?
13.
13.